The first is it can be challenging with the CEO, and trust me, I know, to actually push back on them. Data can help, meaning even having the conversation we had at the start that says, hey, look, just so you understand, not the headlines are full of people who are doing this, but not everybody is doing it, including not everybody in our industry. So knowing and understanding even in your own industry, who isn't doing this, because your competition also sets the tone for your talent in terms of what you're going to be able to do and not do and get away with. Then there's a set of questions you can ask. The biggest one actually first is, what problem are we trying to solve? Like, what underlying issue really is going on? And do we have any data to say that it is an issue? So I have had this happen where we've got into the internal data of a company and figured out, hey, look, our junior salespeople really are struggling, right? And we've got data that shows that our junior salespeople who are fully remote are struggling more than the ones who are in the office at least a few days a week. And so we need to actually address that and deal with it. But then you've got a specific problem to fix, and something that you can do with it. More broadly, the issue is, I think a lot of CEOs and even a lot of other senior leaders see this as, hey, can't we just put a quick fix in here and we're going to state a new policy and then we're going to move on? When we all know that that's not going to necessarily solve, the broader sets of issues that are going on. So the other questions go to work design, pretty much, which is, are your teams distributed or are they co-located? So if everybody was on teams where everybody is co-located, the manager and all the team in the same city, then saying be in the office 5 days a week can make sense. If you look at where Amazon gets the most resistance, it's from the broad number of people at Amazon that work on teams that are spread out across locations. So if what you're saying to people is commute in the office 5 days a week, but I'm on a team that's distributed across locations, you're cutting into my commute time. The commute time's cutting into my collaboration time. Sorry. If I'm on the West Coast, I've lost time with my East Coast counterparts. The second question on terms of that work structure is, how are teams structured in the first place? Am I primarily on a dedicated function like a junior sales team? Or am I every 6 months changing the rotation of what project I'm staffed on, right? And if it's projects based, maybe you should be thinking about, how do I get those project teams together for kickoffs, for going deeper with each other, for milestone reviews, and for work like that. The rest of this basically goes to, what's my employee value proposition? Because that comes back to that issue of trust. If I really am a nose to the grindstone, live to work for this company, and that's what you feel like you've lost over the course of the pandemic, then maybe this is your answer. Meaning when Amazon says culture, they don't mean warm and fuzzy. They mean Amazon's pretty hardcore culture, which it has been for decades. And so you may be reinstilling that, but then the question becomes, who are you going to lose along the way in doing that? Who's going to decide that that's not for them any longer? And the last one is, are you sure that you, boss, the CEO, should be the one making this unitary decision? Given all those issues of co-location versus distribution, given how different teams are structured, given who's going to be impacted in what areas, because the moment you, CEO, make a decision that this is the answer, every leader south of you then has a wrestling match with their team about the exceptions, about what's best for certain teams, about whether we're going to give people who are highly talented who could go someplace else a free ride on this and let them, quote unquote, cheat the system. The cascading effect on this is not very good. So that's the logic I try to help people with is what can you take to your CEO to get them thinking about, I may not like it, but this is more complex of a challenge than one that I think I should be applying a single simple answer to.